and we're good. All right. So last week we were talking about takeaways from the book Eight Rules of Love by Shetty, which I think it's a great book for anyone. Oh, can't hear me. Hold on. How about now? Can you hear me now? Okay, good. I think it was like Bluetooth or something. All right, so let me go back a little bit. First of all, happy Sunday to everybody out there. It's Taylor Nixon here with takeaways with Tay, and I'm here to give you some takeaways from reading Eight Rules of Love by Shetty. So, for anyone who has not heard of the author Shetty, just to give like a little brief recap of him, he's a global best-selling author, award-winning podcast host of several podcasts, and he amassed a following of over 50 million across social media platforms, known for making ancient wisdom relatable, practical, and easily accessible. So, overall, he has this reputation for like spirituality, dropping wisdom, and guiding people who may need guidance in like different areas of life. So like maybe love, relationships, finances, things of that nature. Like he takes wisdom and he makes it applicable and practical for the average person. So he wrote a book called The Eight Rules of Love. And, last week I gave my inputs on those takeaways from that book. And this week I wanted to dive in deeper because I feel like there's some really good stuff within the book, and like stuff that I think is very beneficial for anyone who is in a relationship or maybe looking to cultivate a healthy relationship, or just anyone who may be struggling with, a breakup, or just all things love. So let's start with the first takeaway. Or let's just start with, before we get into the takeaway, I want to make sure that we understand this part about like what we're getting ready to talk about. I think when it comes to like love, and as our generation like talks about like how we're struggling right now to date, or we're struggling to create healthy relationships, and there's all this drama in relationships and things of that nature. It's I think it boils down to the fact that real love is spiritual in essence. Like the whole purpose, in my opinion, of love is it's a spiritual journey that we embark on with another person. And I just simply, like, as honest as I can be, I don't think that the average person has done enough work to actually really experience and open the door for love. And that's just my opinion. And I think that's why we have so much issues with love and relationships today, is because of that. So, and I feel like that's because like there's this misconception of like how love is cultivated and what love is. And we have like this fairy tale perception, whether that's based on movies or, things that we see growing up, and we expect for love to be like, oh, you have this special person out there that's just for you, and y'all ride off into the sunset and everything is golden. Like, that's something that I feel like is far from the truth. And the goal of love is to look beyond ourselves and pretty much serve the world. Like, that's the whole premise of this book. So the book talks about basically learning how to love ourselves. So that's like the first thing we need to learn in order to get to those next stages of love, where we're able to love someone else, and then we're able to transform that love and spread it into the communities. So in learning ourselves and learning ourselves and learning how to love, I kind of look at the world as like a one big simulation, if you will, like for the mind. Like when your mind is entered into this world, when we grow up, or when we are born, we're impressionable. And with that, because we're so innocent, we're impressionable because we're innocent. And with that innocence, now like we see things, we hear things, we take in things through our senses, and that creates our perception of the world, of what love looks like, of how we should be treated, how we should treat ourselves, how we should treat each other. And all these different impressions and perceptions are like downloads. They're like, it's like downloads onto the mind. And I don't know if you, it's I kind of compare it to like a computer. So like when you get a new laptop or a new computer, the system runs perfectly well because there's nothing downloaded onto it. So kind of think of like a kid, like an innocent kid is like a system, a computer system that's brand new. And then as they get older and they're in the world, they different experiences download different impressions on their mind, and then now their hardware, if you will, or the hardware of the computer of that child is now harder for them to carry out everyday functions of like what a computer does, if that makes sense. And let me know if that analogy is like not hitting. I'm trying to explain it the best way that I know how, but basically like we have to clean our hardwares and remove toxic things that will crash our systems essentially, right? And like all these different things that are impressionable on us, all the different things that we encounter in our lives, if we don't learn how to like detach and how to recharge, how to get back and take a sit back and, you know, get away from them, then it can basically essentially crash our system. We can, and when I say crash our system, I mean like halt us from being able to love or experience love and that things of that nature. So the book, like I said, the first takeaway is learning ourselves and learning how to learning our strengths, learning our weaknesses, learning what makes us unique, learning what we like, what we don't like, and things of that nature. And you know, I don't think that it's learning ourselves is exclusive to just solidarity. You know, I don't think that we have to be in solitude in order to learn ourselves. Sometimes we can also learn ourselves through dating. We can learn ourselves through our partners. But there has to be some type of like communication and things of that nature so that there's an understanding of, there's just clarity in a situation, if that makes sense. So the takeaway 2 from last week is that sometimes, and this is like just harsh truth, but sometimes we are the problem. Like when we can't maintain a relationship, when we can't find whatever it is that we think that we need to find, what we're looking for, sometimes we're in our own way. And what I mean by that is that, like, when you think about all the different problems that our people are facing right now when it comes to relationships and love, a lot of it boils down to acceptance. Either you haven't accepted that person, either that person hasn't accepted themselves, and they don't know how to be upfront about what it is that they're experiencing. Maybe they don't know enough about themselves, or they haven't looked in the mirror enough. They haven't accepted themselves. Maybe it's they've told you who they are, they've showed you who they are, but you don't want to accept that, and you don't want to work with that. You want them to be something else. You want them to be what you want them to be when you want them to be it. And that's the problem, is like when somebody hurts us, or not, let me go back, not when they hurt us, when somebody decides that they want to do something other than what we want them to do, right? So for example, let's say somebody decides that they want to see other people for whatever reason. And let's say that you guys are dating, right? And somebody decides they want to see other people. And they communicate that. It sucks. You know, at the end of the day, it's like, dang, like we were supposed to be in this relationship. We're supposed to be doing this together. And, you know, it could hit you with a curveball because it's like, you know, we was fine. What's going on? But at the end of the day, like, we have to learn how to accept that. If that's what that person wants to do, we have to accept it, and we have to make peace with that and learn how to move on. It's very hard to have peace if we don't learn how to accept the things that we cannot control. And we just simply can't control another person. Another person has thoughts, feelings, emotions, goals, whatever you want to call, like everything, and they are allowed to want something different. They're allowed to want to change. They're allowed to want to explore. And I feel like true love is about accepting that you can't change this person, accepting and allowing that person to whatever they think that they need to explore, allowing them to do that. And some people might disagree with that. That's just me. I feel like a lot of the problems that we experience, like I said, with love and relationships is just a matter of not accepting someone. Or when it comes to, like, let's say, like in the dating process, like early on in a relationship or before a relationship even begins, let's say someone is upfront about what it is that they struggle with. Let's say that they're honest, they're open, and they're very aware, and they're currently struggling with something, right? It's this thing about, like, I think we get in our feelings sometimes because it's like we want this person to be our perfect ideal person, and we have this picture that we want this person to amount to, and when that person doesn't meet those expectations, then we get disappointed. And it's like, well, the person told us who they were, the person was aware, the person communicated. And it's like, at the end of the day, we have a decision. Like, you have a decision to make. Do you want to accept this person and try to work things out with them and, keep it going? Or do you want to let this person go and go find something different, And the thing about dating is we could stop wasting everybody's time. Like, everybody could stop wasting everybody's time if they were intentional about the dates and the type of information that they're gaining when they're on dates. So, like, the book suggests that we don't just go on dates passively. Like, we go on dates with the intention to learn about a person's personality, learn about a person's values, learn about a person's goals, what they want in life. Like, we can't keep going on dates passively and expecting for our partner to just magically be who we want them to be. If you notice on date 2 or date 3 that this person doesn't have the same values that you have, doesn't have the same, or they just simply just don't value what you value, that's a clear signal for you to go ahead and maybe navigate to other options. And that's okay. But that's the thing about dating, is we could stop wasting everybody's time if we were just more intentional about our dating. And people are complaining about dating and how horrible everything is right now, but it's like, really, it's just people are comfortable wasting people's time. And then some people don't even know their time is being wasted because they're just happy that somebody's paying attention to them. And that just goes back to creating a relationship with yourself, being able to be okay with being alone. And so sometimes we are the problem. Sometimes we are our own problem. Now, there's also this thing called accountability. And, also, yes, acceptance. Like, we need to have acceptance, and we need to accept another person in order to figure out if we want to take this relationship, if I'm okay with where this person is and I'm okay with taking this relationship to the next level, or if I'm not really sure and I just want to let this go. But there's this thing called accountability, and we have to be accountable for when we're dating, when we're in relationships. We have to be accountable for the type of energy that we bring into someone else's life. Like, it's not okay, right, to just, you say you want to do, how do I say this? With accountability, we have to be mature enough to be able to know and to say when we were wrong. And the thing about accountability is we have to be able to drop our ego. And that's why accountability is so hard, is because there's so much pride. There's so much ego, and there's so much just things that aren't healthy for a relationship to grow. Like we're dealing with layers of pride, jealousy, lust, illusion, all these different things that make up the ego. And you can't have I can't be accountable if I'm more worried about my pride, if I'm trying to, if I have like an ego to protect, like of course I'm not going to be accountable. And that's the thing, is like there is no room for ego when it comes to love. Like when we're trying to love someone else, we have to put our ego to the side. Like that's not even, it goes back to like taking care of a child. When you have a child and that child is being a child, essentially doesn't care about the sacrifices that you make as a parent. And you can't sit up here and be like mad at the child for being a child. You have to like, essentially suck it up as a parent and understand that that's just the nature of this child. Understand that this is just the phase that they're in life, and they'll grow up, they'll mature, they'll understand eventually one day the sacrifices that were made. They'll appreciate them maybe one day, but right now they don't. And that's the thing, is we're looking for reciprocation in love. But real, like true love, it doesn't look for reciprocation. It gives, and if it can't give, it just simply doesn't give. Like if I don't have the capacity to give, I'm just not going to give. Because when I'm giving, I'm not giving because I'm looking to get something back. I'm giving because I genuinely want to give. That's love, So the third thing here, the third takeaway, is that nobody is perfect. And that with that, relationships are masterfully designed to annoy us. And I liked that. I wanted to go deeper here because it goes back to like this notion that things are supposed to be perfect in a relationship, or things are supposed to be smooth sailing, or not necessarily supposed to be, perfect and smooth sailing, but that when the rain starts to come on the relationship, and the weather starts to change and things of that nature, and you're going through different milestones in life together, feathers get roughed up. Those are not spaces where we should run from. That's an opportunity for us to build a stronger bond. Essentially, if I say that I love you, you say that you love me, and we're in this, we've committed, blah, blah, blah. Like, we have to figure out a way to work together to overcome whatever it is that is coming our way, whatever it is that we're enduring, whatever unforeseen circumstances. Like, that's what it's about. It's a commitment to this person, and that's what people aren't ready for, because that's spiritual. That requires you to look outside of yourself. That it requires for you to be present. It requires for you to dig out your demons, understand how your childhood affects the relationship, understand what traumas you're bringing, what baggage you're bringing into the relationship. That's the work of a relationship. And that's what people aren't really ready for. People want the romantics of love. They want the pleasures that come with it. They want the community aspect that comes with it, and just having other person there, maybe because they just don't want to be alone. People don't want to be alone, but it's when it really comes to like building that foundation and that love that is unbreakable and that bond that is inseparable. It's about caring about this person enough that you are doing your due diligence to make sure that you are your best self at all times, and your best self changes and it looks different, but that's okay. And I liked how the book, there's a quote, it says that the children who need the most love will always ask for it in the most unloving ways. And that is so true, because everybody has a story. Everybody carries with them some type of trauma, some type of struggle to get here. Life is a struggle, let's be honest. Waking up every day, going to work, sacrificing, whatever it is that people are sacrificing, it's a struggle. And a lot of times people who didn't grow up in a loving family, they didn't have someone who cared about if they brushed their teeth before they went to sleep, or if they're getting enough vegetables and fruits. They didn't have someone there to lean on, to cry on, to tell that they fell off their bike when they was riding down the street. They might not even have a bike to ride. They are the people who, if you if I'm if you they're the ones who have created most likely the hardest shell for someone to crack, for someone to love, because they've been through a lot, and I'm not saying that that's an excuse to be a horrible person or to not take accountability. What I'm saying is that those are oftentimes what we consider people that are hard to love, because it's easy to love somebody that's nice, that is caring, and that shows you love. It's easy to reciprocate that. But love, like I said, is not about reciprocation. It's about, I'm doing this because I have the capacity for it, and I understand that you need it. Not only did I understand that you need it, but I want to give it. I'm not doing this because I want something in return. I'm doing this because I know that you need this, and I'm willing to give it. And essentially, the book, it just talks about how we have to stretch our capacity to love. And stretching your capacity to love, that, like I said, just goes back to doing things, that being a vessel where it's not necessarily considered easy to be a vessel. And we can compare this to different figures that have walked. You can compare it to Jesus. Not really super religious, but Jesus is a great example of love, because Jesus, people stoned this man, talked bad on his name, said he wasn't he experienced the worst of the worst, right? If we're going off of the stories, but he still came and walked this earth with a purpose to spread a message, to spread love despite what was thrown at him, what was given, what came his way. And Jesus is just one example, but there's multiple examples of leaders in our world who have expressed this love, whether it been for a purpose, whether it been for a cause, or some type of goal, or some type of initiative. There was a reason why this person was they basically were able to spread their capacity to love. And, when we can spread our capacity to love, then we can receive that love. We'll in return receive that love. And I'm not saying spread your capacity to love so that you can receive more love. I'm saying it all starts with yourself. And love, essentially, I believe, is why we exist, right? And I believe that when we're helping one another, when we are loving one another, we're thriving. Our spirits are up, because it feels good. It feels good to help somebody. And the book talks about how we are psychologically we want to help. Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to be of service. Everybody wants to feel like they're needed in some kind of way. And what better way than choosing to love. So also the difficult people in our life, the difficult loved ones that we would consider hard to love, they're there to teach us tolerance. And I really like the way the book put that, because a person causes pain because they're in pain. And I think that's something that we have to remember when we can't believe some of the things that people are doing, or something that somebody did. It's usually because they're in pain. And like I said, that doesn't justify it. That doesn't make it right. And I don't condone abuse. I don't think that anybody should stand for abuse, and that's whether it's physical, mental, emotional abuse at all. And that's I want to touch on that too, because the book talks about how yes, when we're trying to work out conflicts with our partner or with someone, and we decide like, okay, how do we want to handle this? There's a such thing as like, okay, we need to actually we need to work on this. Like, we need to figure out how we're gonna move forward from this. But then there's a such thing as like, this is something where I'm experiencing abuse. If you're experiencing abuse of any kind, it's a red flag, and it's time to go. It's time to go. That person who is abusing you is not, they need help. And it's not your responsibility to help them. And you shouldn't feel sorry for it, and you shouldn't feel, you don't have any reason. That's not your responsibility to help them. And you can pray for them, you can wish them well, but you don't tolerate abuse of any kind, and stand firm on that. So also with the abuse, so with loving, there's this thing called boundaries. Because yes, you should love, right? The book talks about how we should love and we should spread our capacity to love. But the book also talks about how there's crocodiles out there. And by crocodiles, I mean like people who are waiting to take advantage of your heart, are waiting to take advantage of your love. People who really don't have your best interests at heart. And they know that your heart is your superpower. And they're trying to either manipulate it or get you trapped in some kind of way to take advantage of your heart. And that's where we have to, like, as lovers, as people who want to love and want to build their capacity to love, that's where we have to know that these crocodiles exist in the world. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't find out until we're in an experience with a crocodile, and we learn, oh wow, like, dang, I didn't know I had to watch out for this type of person. Like, I didn't know this type of person existed in the world. But now that you do, unfortunately having to find out by experiencing something unfortunate, which hopefully, you don't. But now that you do know that crocodiles exist, you have to learn how to navigate it. You have to learn how to, the book says, leave your heart at home. Leave your heart at home. Leave it at the door. Don't pass go, especially when you getting ready to deal with some crocodiles. Leave your heart at home. It's okay. That's what you call boundaries. That's what you call protecting your heart, because everything that you do flows from it. That's what you call discernment, knowing who to give your heart to, knowing who to open your heart to, knowing who deserves your heart, because that's a thing. Everybody doesn't deserve you. Everybody don't deserve access to you. Everybody doesn't deserve to be in your space. So, it's called discernment, when you're able to determine, like, who should I give my heart to? And the story talks about this. It's a parable with a crocodile and a monkey. And it talks about how the monkey is trying to get to the other side of the river. There's a crocodile in this river. And I'm kind of like going off of memory because I can't remember like verbatim the story. But essentially what happens is the crocodile goes, oh, little monkey, like, I can help you get across the river. Just hop on my back and I get you across. And the monkey is like, oh, that's what it was. It was a banana. So there's a banana on the other side of the river. And the monkey's trying to get to the banana. And the crocodile's like, I can get you to the banana. Just hop on my back. I'll swim you across the river. So the monkey's like, of course. Like, great idea, right? So the monkey gets on the crocodile's back. And the crocodile is swimming across the river. And then it stops dead smack in the middle of the river and is like, silly, stupid monkey. Now I got you in the middle of the river and you can't swim and I'm about to eat you. And the monkey goes, oh, but wouldn't I be more delicious if I had my heart, or if I had, was it the banana? What is it? Wouldn't I be more delicious if I had a heart to go inside of me, right? And the crocodile's like, you know what? You're right. So he lets him go. He brings him across the river to go get his heart. And then, of course, the monkey gets off and he essentially he doesn't get eaten and he's safe. But the monkey was smart enough to know not to bring his heart with him while he was dealing with the crocodile, because he knew that he was going to encounter this crocodile. Now, I probably butchered the story just a little bit because I can't remember if it was a heart or a banana that the monkey was trying to get. But what I'm trying to say is that when you're dealing with crocodiles, just leave your heart at home. Okay? And don't give your heart like it's candy, because it's not. I know you want to love, you want to experience love, and you want to be a great person. You know, everybody wants to be a great person, I believe, deep down inside. Maybe. Some people, they just lost. But essentially, like, you know, just be prepared to experience crocodiles, because they exist and they're everywhere. I can't tell you what they look like. I can't tell you what their personality will be. You know, sometimes there's some sneaky crocodiles. They don't look like crocodiles, but they are. And you got to be careful. And you have to protect your heart at all costs, at all costs. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest takeaway that I want you to take from today. Is just protect your heart. And with protecting your heart, like I said, don't let everyone in. Everyone doesn't deserve to be in your space, have access to you. You got to look at yourself as the prize that you are, because you are. You're the prize. You're the prize, okay? Like, when you get with them, y'all can, you know, be together. Y'all can be power couple, whatever. But, like, right now, I need you to focus on you, and you being the it guy that you are. So, and then one last thing to keep in mind is that as your love scales, so will your opposition, because it's going to be proportionate to the journey that you're on. And what does that mean? What does that look like, right? Essentially, like, as you build your capacity to love, you will also, because of that light that you shine, you're also going to experience more opposition, if you will, more resistance from people who don't want that love who don't want you to experience that, or don't want essentially don't want to see you happy. Like, I don't know if you, like, sometimes people get in good relationships, and like people who haven't been in a relationship in a while, they'll get in a really good relationship, and then all of a sudden people will start just coming out of nowhere, like exes, like, oh, do you remember blah blah blah, and then you'll start getting tested more and more, because now you've decided to embark on this journey of love, and people see that. And, you know, don't be surprised when opposition comes. It just means that, you know, your love is scaling, so is your opposition. And also, one last thing too that I thought was nice, a big quote from the book. It says, "It's only one fish to you, but to that fish it is everything." And what I mean by that, what the book meant by that, from what I got out of it, is that somebody who's watching this might feel completely discouraged right now about love, or discouraged about if they'll ever meet somebody that is for them, or just completely just, you know, not interested at all. And that's very well okay, you know, but at the same time, you know, start taking those steps to being able to experience love and to be able to cultivate love, which is, you know, starting with yourself. Start learning yourself, and then building this space to be able to love someone else. Because although it might not seem like, you might seem discouraged now, you might seem like, who cares, whatever, it is what it is right now, to eventually, you know, you're kind of like self-sabotaging, and you don't want to do that. Like, everybody needs love, and, you know, nobody was created to be by themselves. So you have to take those steps, whether or not you want to or don't. You have to take those steps. And Also, you know, once you do take those steps and you build your capacity to love, and now you're being able to spread that into the community and spread it to people that you love, you never know who you might touch or who you can inspire with your love, with your heart. And that's where that quote about these fish comes back to, because it says it's only one fish to you, meaning to you it's only like, oh, I'm only loving one person, right? It's just one fish. But to that fish, it is everything. And I'm sorry, I didn't even give back context to this. So like, let me rewind a little bit. Go back. When I'm talking about the fish, what I mean is that it was a parable of fish that had, like, hundreds of fish that have gotten stranded on a sea, not on the sea, but on the land, essentially, like coming in from the sea. And the fish were basically about to die because they're on the land and they can't breathe. And there was a guy who, like, starts picking up the fish one by one and tossing them back into the water. And now, of course, there's hundreds of fish on the land that have gotten swept onto the land from the sea. And, you know, people outside looking in are like, oh my gosh, there's no way we're going to be able to save all these fish. But the guy, this old man, he's still picking up the fish one by one. He's tossing them back into the water. And so that's where this quote comes in, where it says, it's only one fish to you, but to that fish, it is everything. And that is basically, it's applying that to love, where it's like, to you, it might just be one person, but to that person, it's everything. So with all of that, I feel better about diving into this part of the book, because I just felt like it was necessary and that there was more for you guys to gain from me reading this. So with that, you know, handle yourselves with care, handle love with care, and be intentional about dating, be intentional about what you're looking for, what you want, and, you know, stop wasting people's time. Stop wasting people's time. Stop wasting your own time. Stop disrespecting yourself. Stop putting up with things that you know are not good for you. You know, don't tolerate abuse of any kind, and increase your capacity to love. Thank you guys for tuning in to Takeaways with Tay. I appreciate it. We're going to be back next week with a new book. So we're going to move on from this book. We're going to move on to a new book. And I'm excited to share that. So share this with a friend, and like, comment, share, subscribe, all the above. I will see you guys later. Bye.